self-tape to do, so I thought I'd take you through the process that I go through when I'm preparing to film a self-tape, when I'm filming a self-tape, just because I chat a lot about acting, but I don't actually show you what goes on. So I've printed off the script. It's 2 pages, but I've printed them both onto one A4 sheet because I think that always feels less overwhelming. And it's interesting to think about the kind of 2-page self-tape scripts you often get through, because often they are 2 pages, but I think there's a difference between like 2 pages of lines to learn and 2 pages of like paragraphs to learn. And to be honest, I was originally going to film and say this is like 2 pages of paragraphs, not 2 pages of lines, but the more I look at it, I think actually like each line is probably like 4, 5, 6 lines long down the page, so it's not too bad. So I'm going to go highlight my lines and start learning them, and this is a self-tape script that I actually have quite a bit of time to learn and film, and often I do try to get it filmed and sent off early because you never know when you might get another self-tape and then you'll just want to have more time to focus your energy on that one, especially if like you get another one that has a quicker turnaround. So it's the next day, I think, anyway, and I'm back, it's me, and I've got this script. And I've also got myself a coffee to drink because I always think that it's easier to focus if I've got like gum or if I've got like a drink, just to make me like sit down and actually have to learn the lines and try and convince myself to do it, because I do work hard. Like, people who know me say that I have quite a good work ethic, but it can just feel like a lot to do. And like, I didn't really grow up having to learn lines that much. Like, I got into acting kind of later, not really late, but a bit later. And I think if you've not been doing it since like birth, then always lines can feel a little bit intimidating. But I try to learn it in like 20-minute installments and start from the beginning and make sure I know each line well before I move on. And I only spend like 20 minutes in a row learning it, because I think otherwise if you spend more than 20 minutes you start making mistakes on things that you weren't making mistakes on to start with, and it all starts getting a bit confusing, because like if you continue learning it in a row forever, like my brain can't handle it. So I try to learn it myself, and then eventually I'll try and get someone else maybe in to read with me, but often that's also hard to do. So I just try my best and try to put enough time into it that I can feel confident that I have put the time into it and I'll know it. So today is the day that I'm planning on filming my self-tape. I have my script here, so I thought I'd talk a bit about the preparations that I actually do when I have a self-tape script in order to prepare to film a self-tape. And I also thought I'd briefly address the fact that I am wearing a white top. Some people say if you're filming against a white wall, don't wear a white top, but I think there are certain rules when filming a self-tape that you should think about, like if it's going to mean that you can't see your acting as well, or like if there's a pattern that's going to be really distracting on camera or mess with the camera, I would probably avoid that. But I'm filming against an off-white wall in a quite bright white top, so I think it won't be a problem. And I think on the topic of the actual acting preparation that I do, my process has really changed, because I've heard from a lot of different casting directors that they don't always like you to make too many kind of directorial decisions. They just want to be able to see you naturally and instinctively playing the character, to see what you look like as that character. So often, along with the actual self-tape script, you will get sent potentially information about the character profiles, information about the story. So I will read that and take that into consideration, but I try not to make too many directorial decisions myself, because I leave that up to if they want to redirect me and I get further in the process, because I think for a self-tape, they don't necessarily always want you to spend too much time on it. They want to see how you find the truth of the scene, and that's what I work on more, is just finding the truth and trusting my instincts, and then they can see me as the character, because they can always know that they could redirect me if they want me to make different character choices, and I could do that. So I try not to like prepare it and develop my process in order to mean that I say it in a specific way, because then that doesn't help me if I get redirected in the future. So maybe I'll disagree with the process I currently have in the future, or some people might think this is wrong, but I kind of learn the lines and then trust my acting training and stuff that I've done in classes, and try to trust my ability to portray it truthfully and to say the script naturally. And I don't really try to go too much further than that. I just try to give them a very natural, believable read of the script. So I make sure I know the lines well, but I'm not doing loads of character development and like making loads of decisions. But whether or not that's right or wrong, that's my process, and I just try to find the truth and not overcomplicate it. So welcome to my self-tape setup. I'm planning on doing this tape sitting down. Sometimes I will stand up, but this kind of scene, they're kind of sitting down to have a conversation together, and my character's kind of calm, composed, has the power in this kind of conflict and scene. So I think it just would work better for this scene sitting down, but I will decide based off of the scene and what's going on if it would make sense plot-wise to stand up, or if I want to up the energy a bit more and my character's got more like frantic energy, I would probably stand up, but I'm doing this one sitting down. And what I've learned about my self-tape setup is that sometimes the lighting is too yellow, and you can kind of tell by the colour of the wall if it is too yellow. So based off of that, I would sometimes introduce a ring light or switch the light on in this room, but I kind of don't need to at the moment. There's enough natural light coming in. And also I had to be taught that the lens of the camera you're using should be around your eye line, just so the framing's right. And you should also have more space this way. Like I would look this way for a tape, and I'm using my phone and my camera is on the left hand side, and on the right side is where I'd look, maybe at the record button, which is on the other side of the screen, or on the edge of my phone, just so I'm not looking too far off. And having more space here is really important, because this is the active space that you're using, because the character that you're speaking to is placed over there. So it makes more sense to have more space here than space there, because that doesn't really make much sense because there's no character there, because I'm speaking this way. And I try to run my lines a few times in my head before I film it, just so I know that it's there. But I've learned actually also in mock auditions that we were encouraged to kind of not do that, and just trust yourself before you go into a mock audition that the lines will be there and not run through them. So I don't know if that's necessary, but that's the stage I'm at. I just try to stay calm and trust the process, because sometimes you do mess up on the lines, but I try not to freak out and just trust the process that eventually I will have the lines all right and I will have a tape that I can send off. So I filmed my tape and sent it off, and then I went to my Spanish group, so I've only just got back from that. And because I'm filming this, it's making me think about how my self-tape filming process might be different to other people's. One thing I would say is that I usually just do about like one take. Once I've got the lines, I just kind of leave it there, because I think sometimes you like don't really gain that much from doing it many times. Like sometimes I do it 2 or 3 times, but like 4 absolute maximum, I never really go over that anymore. And also I don't know if this is normal or not, but I don't usually watch my tapes back. I'll sometimes watch tapes back with my acting coach if we're looking through them, and I think there are ways that you can learn from watching yourself, but usually I think you can throw yourself off, because like I've heard people say before that like they'll watch a scene which they know they felt really connected to, which they were crying in it, and they'll look at it and they'll be like, I swear I don't look like that when I cry. Because I think often we're quite unaware of what we look like to other people. Like I've been told I'm quite expressive, but I don't see my own face most of the time. And sometimes people are like, you look nervous at the moment, Lottie. And like, I'm not always aware of physically how I come across and vocally how I come across. Like I think most people actually are quite unaware of visually what them expressing emotions truthfully in their normal life looks like, because it's not something we really look into and are consciously aware of. So I take my tapes more as how did I feel in the moment, and I trust that whatever is there visually is how I express emotion and is truthful, because I felt the truth in the moment. Like I go off feelings more than looking at it, because I don't know what I look like when I feel certain emotions. Like I'm not constantly looking in the mirror, so I don't really know. And I also recycle my script like almost as soon as I've done the tape, just as a bit of closure, so I'm not thinking about it. Like I don't need to keep the script. Like self-tapes especially are something that is really important to forget about and move on, because with self-tapes, people auditioning people via the self-tape route are able to see so many people, so it's kind of really difficult to get a job from a self-tape. It's very rare that anything comes from my self-tapes. Like I'm getting my face out there so people will know of me, so it's not a waste of time, but like it's rare to get anything from self-tapes and to get too far in the process. So I think finding ways to close off the self-tape kind of process and to like do something nice afterwards and take your mind off it and move on is really important. If you have any thoughts on self-tapes or anything you do differently or similar to me, or if you have any questions or just any thoughts, let's chat about self-tapes in the comments. And thank you so much to everyone for watching. Please subscribe if you want to stick around and see more from me and see where my acting goes. I really always appreciate the support, and thank you for watching. Bye!